Hello, fellow RPG geeks. How's it going? It's Tim, Samwise7, and I want to talk a little bit about my Marth Ice World fantasy races. And I'm going to specifically be talking about the D&D 3.5 version of them. So here goes. I'm going to start off with the dwarves. I've always been tired of dwarves not getting love for their sub races. There's always been like two, some maybe three in some settings. I don't know. I went with four. And a lot of settings just have the dwarf with no subraces, so that kind of bothers me. The dwarf traits are pretty much the same as the D&D 3.5, and plus the changes below. So the first one is Dark Dwarf, which is the normal dwarf, and it has 120 feet of dark vision instead of the 60 feet, so it's basically doubled. The Dark Dwarf, they're a very serious, very violent race. Humor is almost unknown to them. They do not understand any jokes that poke fun at them. They spend many hours beneath the surface of the ice and complain about the light of the suns. They also tend to not like the sky and feel uncomfortable in open areas because they feel open to attack. They pride themselves on war stories and feats of strength. Athletic games are a very big part of their society. The crafting of weapons and armor is a major focus for them. Yeah, but they're dwarves, so you get that. The next subrace is the Fire Dwarves. Same thing, dwarf traits plus. They have plus 1d6 fire damage to all unarmed attacks and attacks with metal weapons when they're holding them in their hand. Fire Dwarves can control the temperature of their hands. They can make their hands normal temperature or hot enough to light fires with flammable materials. They have plus 1 to hit versus creatures with water or cold subtype, and this replaces the plus 1 to hit orcs and goblins. Fire dwarves love fire in all of its forms. Since the death of the gods, many worship fire in one form or another. So they're kind of like it's like an elemental form of worship. Any home of the fire dwarves has many torches and fireplaces, not to aid in seeing, but for the love of flame. Fire dwarves complain about the cold outside of their hot mountain homes. Fire dwarves from birth have many fire-cleansing traditions, which mainly involve burning small portions of themselves while saying a prayer for the flames to cleanse them. Cold creatures with any intelligence fear the burning wrath of these dwarves. And the next subrace is the Grey Dwarves. Normal dwarven traits plus. They have 80 feet of dark vision. Twice per day, they can cast the spell Pass Through Stone, and that's a level 1 divine spell that's only known to Grey Dwarves in this setting. The components are the normal components for that spell, and they can only cast on themselves. Let's see here. Alright, so that's the Grey Dwarves. Let's describe them. Grey Dwarves are a very somber lot. They seem to hold grudges for a very long time, with forgiveness coming from them almost never. They lament for the dead long after they pass, and sing many sad tales of woe of past generations. So they're kind of like an emo dwarf. To hear a Grey Dwarf laugh is rarer than mithril. Grey Dwarves complain and grumble about their lot in life, but continue on anyway, even when it seems like there is no hope. So they're very, they go to the end of the race no matter what. Grey Dwarves can be very stubborn. They are also very proud of their beards. So a lot of these are standard dwarf cliches, but they're in there. And the last subrace is the Ice Dwarves. They get a plus 8 fort save versus cold and plus 4 to hide, in addition to normal dwarf traits. Ice dwarves are the northernmost race of dwarves. They survive in the areas other dwarves could not. Weaker but quicker than the rest of the dwarves, they tend to hide more and avoid trouble. Ice dwarves spend more time outdoors than most of the other dwarf subraces, who kind of remain in their mountain homes. They tend to trade more with other races and cultures and travel more than other dwarves. I have a bunch of height and weight classifications. The main thing that's of interest is the Dark Dwarves D&D modification is plus 2 to strength, minus 2 int and wisdom. The Fire Dwarves have plus 2 to con, minus 2 to wisdom. The Grey Dwarves have plus 2 to con, minus 2 to charisma, which that's pretty standard. And the Ice Dwarves have plus 2 to con and minus 2 to intelligence. Let's see what happens. 4 minutes. Okay. Alright, so that's the dwarves. We go to the elves next. Same thing. They have the normal elf traits plus the additional. The blood elves have a plus 4 fort save versus cold, and they have no movement penalty over snow and ice, kind of like the Legolas thing. Survival skill is always a class skill for them. Blood elves do not eat the flesh of animals. Their diet consists entirely of the blood of animals. They can drink normal beverages, though, and they kind of have like a bad thing where some of them might drink humanoid blood. So that whole they kind of have a vampiric vibe. So these guys love nature and all its cold brutality and beauty. They tell stories about how things used to be ages past, when all manner of green things thrived and lived. Of the elves, the blood elves spend more time on hunting and viewing the harsh reality of nature. So they're kind of like rangers. Blood elves have a particular eating habit that disturbs other races, and I went into that already. Okay, the next subrace is the shadow elves. They're immune to all poisons. These guys are like the born assassins, and they also have +2 fort save versus cold. Shadow elves do not trust many people. They are normally a paranoid lot that give their friendship grudgingly. The shadow elves have self-poisoned themselves over generations and have a total immunity to poisons. Shadow elf assassins are known to be deadly and expensive. The next subrace is the twilight elves. They get 1 meta magic feat with no prerequisite feat. They have a free familiar, and they can see through the eyes of their familiar since they are born blind. If they take a class that gives them a familiar, they can have two of them, so that's kind of neat. There's a special feat they can take, Twilight Elf Bonding feat, and they bond. This is kind of from the Wheel of Time series, and they can bond with a human or another humanoid, and they're kind of like they have like a telepathic link with each other and an empathetic link. The Twilight Elves are normally frail and skinny. They are very magical and wise. They're the masters of knowledge and power, but are normally very peaceful, unless they are threatened. Many powerful Twilight Elf mages have wandered the ice fields of Marth, and that's pretty much it for them. They just don't have eyes at all. So that's kind of the one main thing about them. And let's see what after the elves. We have 3 subraces of gnomes, and they're divided by cardinal direction. There's the north gnomes, the south gnomes, and the west gnomes. They all have a luck ability, which allows them to re-roll, a dice roll once per day. And the north gnomes have +4 fort save versus cold. The south have +2 to reflex save, and the west have +2 to will save. As far as descriptions, North gnomes are sometimes confused with ice dwarves, but they are very different. Both races do, however, get along with one another. North gnomes don't get along with the South gnomes, though, as they have had many border conflicts between them. They are normally very adventurous and daring. The South gnomes like to get into trouble. They are very inquisitive, and the West gnomes are short and they love magic. I forgot. Go back to the elves. The blood elves have +2 to dex, -2 to charisma. The shadow elves have +2 int, +2 wisdom, and -2 to constitution. The twilight elves have +2 int, +2 charisma, -2 strength. And as far as the gnomes, the north gnomes have +2 con, -2 strength. The south gnomes have +2 dex, -2 strength. And the west gnomes have +2 wisdom, +2 intelligence, and -2 strength. Let's see what time we got here. I have 4 races of humans. There's black, brown, gray, and white. The black have damage reduction, 1 that stacks with the barbarian's damage reduction. Brown have the improved unarmed strike feat, and they know the Omdu deadly silence sign language. Right, that's hard to say. And they're born mute. The gray humans have +1 to any stat, +2 knowledge of heraldry, and +2 knowledge of nobility and royalty. They're kind of the more medieval types. The white humans they're more of your barbarians. They have +2 fort save versus cold, a rage ability that stacks with the barbarian ability. That's pretty much it for them. There is no racial stat bonus for humans. So. And then I have 2 more races here. Okay, I have to hurry up. There's Wolfen, which is the Wolfmen. They just move quicker. They have base move of 40, low light vision, +2 fort save versus cold, +4 spot, +4 listen. They have a scent ability, no movement penalty over snow. They get the track feat for free, and they have some automatic languages. They mainly have +2 dex, -2 int, and -2 charisma. They're unnatural. The Wolfen get along very well with Blood Elves, and they're basically just big wolf men. And then there's the Yeti. I put 2 T's in mine just to distinguish them. They're a little bit more intelligent than your standard, snow ape. But they're big and bulky, and I have a savage species class for them. you can check that out on my website. So that's my D&D races.